All right. Let's just do another example now, which would be our example number three, just for example number three, just for fun. Maybe they can ask the question in a different way. So in this instance, consider the quadratic sequence, which is -6 is to 2 minus x. Now they've included some variables, is to 4, and also 2x plus 5. So this is quite interesting. Again, since they said it's a quadratic sequence, which means that it has a constant second difference. All right, that's what we know, and that's what we need to have in our mind. Now calculate the value of x. Easy stuff. So we know that it's always t2 minus t1, so that will be 2 minus x minus -6. Put those brackets because that's negative. That 6 is not positive, it's negative. Then again, we do this other part, term 3 minus, because you still remember t1, t2, t3, t4. So that will be t3 minus t2. So that will be your 4 minus, again, put the brackets for the previous term, which we have, which is t2 in this instance. That will be 2 minus x. Then, of course, you can now get another difference, which will be t4 minus t3. That will be 2x plus 5 minus 4. That would be your first constant difference. But what we know about a quadratic sequence is that it has a second constant difference. Okay, so now we can now look for the second constant difference, which we have. But of course, we can solve this a little bit here. Let's just solve it so that it can have proper number. So that would be 2 minus x, negative times negative is positive, so that plus 6 there. So that would be 4 minus 2, negative times that would be positive x. Then 2x plus 5 minus 4. Okay, so this will be 2 plus 6, that's 8. So that will lead us having 8 minus x. Then 4 minus 2, that will just give us 2 there. So that will be 2 plus x there in the middle. Then of course there 5 minus 4, that will give us 1. So that will be positive 1. So which means that this will be our first common difference. So this is our first one. Okay, so that you don't get lost over there. Now we need to look for the second common difference, because we know by now that a quadratic equation has a second constant difference. So now that will be your 2 plus x minus the previous term, which is 8 minus x. And of course that will be your 2x plus 1 minus 2 plus x. Forward term minus the previous one. Okay, now that will just be reduced to 2 plus x minus 8. Negative times negative, that's positive x. Okay, that will be 2x plus 1 minus 2. Negative times that will be negative x. That will just be 2 minus x plus x is 2x. 2 minus 8, that's -6. Then 2x minus x, that's x1 minus 2, that's -1. Okay, so this will be your second constant difference. Okay, that will be our second constant difference. And we know that a second constant difference of a quadratic sequence is always the same. So which means that this is equal to this. So now we can now find that and say 2x minus 6 is equal to x minus 1, because we know that the second difference of a quadratic sequence is always the same. So in other words, this is equal to this. If there was another difference here, it's also equal to this, because it's the second common difference. If you still remember from the previous question which we did, we say that again, because we calculate this, it has a constant second difference. Now the difference is that now we just now having the subscripts of x and whatever which we are dealing with on this question. So now we can solve the x. Then that will be 2x minus x is equal to -1 plus 6, because we transpose -6 and and x. So x is equal to 6 minus 1, that will be equal to 5. So our x value is equal to 5. Easy stuff. So it's more of the critical thinking work on the question, so that we can get the understanding of what's happening. Determine the general term. Again, now this is now easy, because now our new sequence now is just going to be your -6 is 2 minus your x is 5, if you remember. So that will be 2 minus 5, that will be -3. Then that will be 4. Then 2 times 3, that's 6. 12. So 2 times 5, that's 10. 10 plus 5, that will give you 15. Then from this point now you can now find the common difference. So that will be -3 minus 6, that will give you +3. Then 4 minus 3, that will give you 7. Then 15 minus 4, that will give you 11. So this will be your first constant difference. Now you need to look for your second constant difference. 7 minus 3, it's 5. Is it? Yes, 5. Sorry, it's 4. Then 11 minus 7, it's also 4, which means your second constant difference D will be equal to 4. Now that we have the second constant difference, now we can solve the question. We know that our general term Tn is always equal to an squared plus bn plus c. And how do we find the a value? We know that the first one is 2a is equal to d. What is our d? Our d is the second constant difference. So that will be 2 multiplied by our a, which we want to calculate this moment, and our d is our 4, which we have calculated there as our second constant difference. We divide both sides by 2, divide by 2, then your a value is equal to 2. Now we can now calculate the b value. And how do we calculate the b value? We say that 3a plus b is always equal to t2 minus t1. What is your a value? You have already calculated it in this point, which is 2, plus your b, which is equal to t2 minus t1. What is t2? T2 was given as negative 3 minus 6. That's gonna give us 3. So now we'll have our 3 over there. Then we make b the subject of the formula. So b will now be equal to 3 minus 6, because 3 times 2 is equal to 6. Then your b is equal to negative 3. Easy stuff. Now we can now calculate the value of c, which will be a plus b plus c is equal to t number 1. And what is your t number 1? Your t number 1 is negative 6, and your a value is 2. Your b value is negative 3, plus c is equal to negative 6. Then that will be 2 minus 3, that's negative 1, plus c is equal to negative 6. Then you make c the subject of the formula. Then it's negative 6 plus 1, that will just give us negative 5. So therefore, don't just say that you have calculated the value of a, b, and c, then leave it like that. That's not the general term. Conclude on the general term which you have. So your general term there will now be equal to tn is equal to, what is your a value? Your a value, I've calculated it to be 2, so that will be 2n squared. Your b value is negative 3, so negative 3n, and of course minus 5. Then of course the question which follows says that which term has the value of what? Guys, this is easy. The moment they say which term, which means they have already given you tn to be equal to 40, which means that since we know that our tn is equal to 2n squared minus 3n minus 5, so which means this tn value which we have been given already is equal to 40. Then what do we do after that? Now we can now calculate the value of n. Okay, that's your homework. So you also do number 2, which is here. We are given that sequence 41, x, y, 53, and 61. Okay, that's your homework to do, so that we can see if you understand. Drop the comment and see if you get the answer.